Hello guys, this is the Game Philosopher. Like I said, like I promised, I'd be making a video on the portrait of the Philosopher King. Now, what is the Philosopher King? Well, you'd see great figures like Frederick the Great, Charles Meng, uh, let's see, who else would be a good example? Napoleon Bonaparte in a way, although he was in many ways not one. King Carl the Fifth, Marcus Aurelius. The list can go on and on and on. But today, I'm going to be talking about the portrait and what makes one up. In fact, one of the big characters I'll be talking about is Erasmus, Cicero, and Marcus Aurelius. And in fact, it all connects, guys. And this might not help you out as much in Total War as much as it would in any group activity that you might become a king, or not king, but a leader of some sort. Because you know the difference between a tyrant and a king, that you actually start doing a more noble and more honorable, even a more justified and dignifying path, which people will like you for it, and pretty much not much of your mistakes will be very big. But when you are defeated, you can always think it back over and see what you did wrong and use your wisdom to see better things happen even from your defeats. So the three qualities of a philosopher king, which come from the education of the Christian prince, and he relates this to God actually. So pretty much, it's kind of funny that a good leader is similar to a deity. Total wisdom, total power, total goodness. The three qualities that you should master are these things. The wisdom, as defined by the ancients, would be cleverness mixed with justice. That when you are clever, you're thinking about ways to get out of different traps. You're thinking ways by which you could best tackle this one scenario with the least amount of struggle possible, or least amount of time, whatever is your goal. Total power being the ability to control the events and the self. Now, you can't always control the events, but you can always control the self because you have complete control over the self. And you can actually somewhat have control of the events if you have control of yourself, because you know exactly what you want, and so you can be more persistent and keep going until the events go your way. The total goodness being the moral excellence or self-esteem, by which a just life is lived. The wise action which creates justice through the power applied. And that itself is very complex. I'm not going to be able to cover this whole entire concept within one video. I'll talk about total goodness later in another video. But next, moving on. That a prince ought to be careful about flatterers. This is very self-explanatory. There are actually many books you can read on this, like even The Prince, which I really don't like The Prince so much, as I've made clear in my previous video. Or even Plutarch's on how to distinguish flatterer from friend. That's a pretty good essay I would recommend reading. And, pretty much you want to have people who are honest with you. You don't want to always have people thinking that you are close-minded. You want people who can speak with you and that you can trust them, and that you have a pretty good following. You have a good, close inner circle. You have many friends which you can trust. But if you have flatterers, and you have to stay away from flatterers, they're not really looking out for your best interest. In fact, what they're trying to do is avoid offending you because they want to use you in some way, or they think you're weak. Either way would not be good for you if you want to be a good leader. The difference between a king and a tyrant is likened to a benevolent father and a cruel master. That is very self-explanatory, because when you lead, you want to see the fact that if you're going to be cruel, you're looking for your own gain. But if you are going to be benevolent, you're having an absolute dedication to people who are under you. And in doing this, you may not have all the ego in the world to be satisfied, but at the same time, you're actually looking out for the best interest of others. And since a lot of people are selfish, they will try to cling to you and they will follow you to the ends of the earth, probably. And in doing this, since you're concerned with their welfare and they are following you, there you have it. You have a lot of followers right off the bat because you're just doing great things. And when you gain new followers, the old and the new followers are pretty much yours. So you wouldn't either do anything to harm them, nor not necessarily offend them, but put them to any type of depression, anxiety, or anger at you. You will otherwise you will lose these new followers, and nothing good would happen. Which is why a lot of kings in history, when they're philosopher kings, have told the warriors not to loot countries because when you take these countries are yours, and you pretty much are harming yourself. You harm the people that are of that country. And also, from Erasmus, if you reflect on how great a kingdom you support, there will always be something to do, and if you get into the habit of taking pleasure in the well-being of the people, you will never be without a source of pleasure. That itself is a very interesting quote to think about, because people always say that they're busy. A lot of times it's an excuse. Why do you want this type of excuse when there's a lot of things you could be doing that's more beneficial, that would be in the happiness and the better good for all, but you are leading in your project. And also, I think that a good leader or a good king would be such as a Solomon or a Marcus Aurelius, that it's better to love wisdom and look for it than to seek any riches or powers that are unwarranted. Because a lot of times, if you do have, for example, control over a big thing, but you don't have the mindset, the qualifications, the experience, whatever you need, these things will actually come to bite you later, and people will hate you for it. Then you will lose all this gain that you have. So it's very much more important to love wisdom and look for it than to seek all this profit without the wisdom. So wisdom always comes first. And how to do this is to measure yourself by the quality of your mind and goodness and the benefit of the action instead of the title which you might have at the current time or that you want to have. That no matter what title you have, you will always do poorly if you do not have the actions and the good mindsets which actually would be beneficial to everyone else, including yourself. Like Marcus Aurelius said, the birds or the what's best for the bee is best for the beehive. That what you have as a single bee pretty much is most benefited by what is best for the rest of the hive. That you have one person, the whole entire society, and what's beneficial for the society, since you are part of the society, is also beneficial to yourself. No need for selfishness. Next, I would like to say that Marcus Aurelius, also on that point, wrote his journal, his Meditations, which is now a very famous book you can actually read. To keep up with his character and to act it out as a true philosopher, do not be the form of a good king, but the substance of one. And in doing this, you can actually, in many ways, see your character as you are, and how you want to be. And then the Asis or Kikero would say, the shortest path to glory is to behave in the way which one wishes to be thought. And in this all connects. So you have this journal, you write it down, you think about how you are and how you want to be, and you work towards this goal of being how you want to be. That way, what happens is you are what you want to be, and you will ultimately be more happy and successful as a leader and as a person in general. That the further a great leader has to have a great mind and a great spirit. Now, moving from Marcus Aurelius to Cicero further, as he says in On Duties, the great spirit is pretty much to be able to endure any sort of pain, indignity, suffering, depression, anxiety, whatever you want to call it, that could cause lesser people to be hurt with ease. We should keep an eye on our minds and our spirit to keep ourselves in line with our goals, and also to get back up when pushed down. And a lot of people suffer with this, but if you look back at the journal idea of Marcus Aurelius, it all connects together. And the great mind would be to consider any possible outcomes that might happen when a tough decision is being made, or even a small decision, doesn't really matter. But it might be easier or more applicable to say a tough decision, and to not have to say that I did not think of that when the eventuality of defeat may arise. And also, further, it's very important that we study philosophy, we appreciate the arts and sciences, and we encourage in ourselves and in others to follow these paths which would actually lead them to becoming better people themselves. And you think about it, if you're a leader and you are encouraging people to be better, that makes you better too, because you're leading better people. And so I'd have to say that a great man, or a great king, whatever, great leader, a great emperor, whatever, who is a ruler of a great people, or leader of a great people, or even a teacher of a great people, whatever you want to call it, is actually made greater by the very fact that there are great people following that person. And so I'd have to say that these are very important things. I hope you enjoyed my video on the portrait of the Philosopher King, and please leave a comment, a like, and subscribe. This has been the Game Philosopher. Thank you for watching.